Take a deep breath and let's hear a story about Emma, a girl who found beauty in life's quiet moments. Emma opened her eyes to gentle morning light filtering through her ivory curtains, casting a warm glow across her small but cozy apartment. The soft cotton sheets cradled her body as she took 3 deep breaths, savoring the faint scent of lavender from her diffuser that had lulled her to sleep the night before. Through her slightly open window, she could hear birds greeting the day with melodic chirps, nature's own alarm clock easing her awake instead of harsh electronic beeping. Her cat, Milo, stretched lazily at the foot of the bed, his gray fur catching the sunlight and seeming to shimmer like morning dew on grass. Emma smiled as she watched him, finding comfort in his peaceful presence and the quiet rhythm of his purring that seemed to match her own heartbeat. The wooden floor felt cool against her bare feet as she padded to the kitchen, each step grounding her to the present moment as she prepared for the day ahead. The familiar ritual of brewing coffee brought comfort as she watched the dark liquid stream into her favorite blue ceramic mug, releasing aromatic tendrils of steam that danced in the morning air. She cradled the warm mug between her palms, feeling its heat spread through her fingers and up her arms, a simple pleasure that reminded her to appreciate these quiet moments. The bittersweet taste awakened her senses gradually, like a gentle nudge rather than a jolt, as she gazed out her kitchen window at the maple tree, whose leaves were just beginning to hint at autumn's approach. Emma's small home office was bathed in natural light, making the white walls seem to glow with a peaceful radiance that felt both energizing and calming. Her desk, organized with mindful intention, held only what she needed: a laptop, a notepad with her flowing handwriting, and a small potted succulent whose presence reminded her that growth happens slowly but steadily. The wooden chair creaked softly as she settled in, a sound that had become comforting in its familiarity during her years of working from this space. As she opened her laptop, Emma took a moment to set an intention for her workday, whispering words of self-compassion that she had learned to offer herself instead of criticism. The calendar notification appeared on her screen, reminding her of today's important client meeting, where she would present the marketing proposal she had spent weeks perfecting. A flutter of anticipation moved through her chest, not quite anxiety, but a reminder that she cared deeply about her work and wanted to make a positive impression. Her colleague Marcus would be joining the presentation virtually, his calm demeanor and analytical mind complementing Emma's creative approach in ways that had made them an effective team. She recalled their first collaboration 3 years ago, how his methodical nature had initially seemed at odds with her intuitive style. Yet over time they had developed a rhythm of working together that brought out the best in both of them. The thought of his supportive presence in the meeting brought a sense of reassurance as she reviewed their shared presentation one final time. The client, Riverstone Wellness Center, was expanding their holistic health services, and Emma believed deeply in their mission to make mindfulness practices accessible to the community. The center's director, Dr. Layla Patel had a gentle wisdom about her that Emma had admired from their first meeting. When the doctor had paused their business discussion to watch a hummingbird outside the window, remarking on how it reminded her to find stillness even in movement. Working with clients whose values aligned with her own brought Emma a sense of purpose that made even challenging projects feel meaningful. Emma's apartment building sat on a quiet street lined with mature oak trees, their branches creating dappled shadows on the sidewalk below. Her neighbors were mostly other young professionals and a few retired couples, creating a community that felt both connected and respectful of privacy. Mrs. Chun from across the hall often shared homemade dumplings, the delicate flavors reminding Emma of the importance of tradition and care in even the simplest acts. The neighborhood cafe where Emma sometimes worked was just a 5-minute walk away, close enough that she could smell the freshly baked bread when she opened her windows on Saturday mornings. The owner, Gabriel, knew everyone by name and remembered their usual orders, creating an atmosphere that felt like an extension of home rather than a business. Emma appreciated how he had transformed a simple commercial space into a gathering place that nurtured both body and spirit through thoughtful details, like locally sourced ingredients and shelves lined with books that customers were welcome to borrow. The soft chime of Emma's phone interrupted her reflections, a gentle reminder that it was time to prepare for the meeting. She took a deep breath, feeling the air fill her lungs completely before slowly releasing it, a practice that helped her transition between moments with intention rather than rushing. The smooth fabric of her navy blazer felt reassuring against her skin as she slipped it on, completing an outfit chosen not just for professionalism, but for the confidence it gave her to present her best self to the world. Sunlight streamed through the conference room windows, illuminating motes of dust that danced like tiny stars in the beams of light. Emma arranged her materials on the polished oak table, aligning her notebook precisely with the edge as a small ritual of preparation that settled her thoughts. The room smelled faintly of lemon polish and fresh coffee, creating an atmosphere that was both clean and inviting. Doctor? Patel arrived precisely on time, her graceful movements and warm smile immediately putting Emma at ease despite the importance of the meeting. They exchanged pleasant greetings, taking a moment to connect as people before diving into business, a human touch that Emma had always valued in professional settings. The doctor's voice had a melodic quality that made even practical discussions sound somewhat poetic, a reminder that how we communicate matters as much as what we say. Marcus joined virtually, his face appearing on the large screen mounted on the wall, his usual background of overflowing bookshelves replaced today by a minimalist office space that reflected their professional intentions. His familiar greeting and subtle nod of encouragement to Emma conveyed their partnership without words, a silent communication built over years of collaboration. Together they created a balanced energy in the room, their different strengths harmonizing rather than competing. The presentation began smoothly, with Emma guiding them through the carefully crafted marketing strategy, while Marcus provided the detailed analytics that supported their creative decisions. The slides transitioned with a gentle fade effect that Emma had chosen specifically to maintain a sense of flow rather than abrupt changes. Each image had been selected to evoke not just intellectual understanding, but an emotional resonance with Riverstone's mission of holistic well-being. 15 minutes into the presentation, however, Emma noticed a discrepancy in the budget projections on slide 23, a detail that had somehow been overlooked despite their thorough preparation. Her heart quickened momentarily as she realized this could potentially undermine their credibility with Dr. Patel, whose trust they had worked so diligently to earn. The smooth rhythm of the meeting suddenly felt threatened, like a peaceful stream disrupted by an unexpected stone. Emma's mind raced as she continued speaking, maintaining her outward composure while internally searching for the best way to address the error. She could feel a tightness forming in her shoulders, the familiar tension that arose when facing unexpected challenges. The fluorescent lights suddenly seemed too bright, the room too warm, as her awareness narrowed to this problem that needed immediate resolution. Marcus noticed her barely perceptible hesitation, their years of partnership allowing him to read the subtle signs of her concern even through a video call. Without drawing attention to the situation, he seamlessly took over discussing the current slide, giving Emma precious moments to gather her thoughts and determine how to proceed. His voice maintained the same confident, measured tone that kept the energy in the room stable while Emma worked through her momentary uncertainty. Doctor. Patel's expression remained attentive and engaged, seemingly unaware of the internal dilemma Emma was navigating. The continued interest in her eyes gave Emma courage to make a decision. Transparency would align with both her personal values and Riverstone's commitment to authenticity. Taking a deep, centering breath that loosened the knot of tension in her chest, Emma prepared to acknowledge the discrepancy when they reached that section, rather than hoping it would go unnoticed. When they arrived at the problematic slide, Emma paused deliberately, her voice steady as she acknowledged the error in the budget projections. Dr. Patel, I've just noticed an inconsistency in these figures that I'd like to address, she said, maintaining eye contact that conveyed both professionalism and sincerity. The words felt vulnerable in her mouth, yet speaking them aloud somehow diminished their power to distress her. To Emma's surprise, Dr. Patel's expression softened with appreciation rather than showing disappointment. "I value your honesty, Emma," she responded, her voice carrying the warmth of genuine respect. "Mistakes happen in business as in wellness practice. It's how we respond to them that reveals our character." The gentle wisdom in her words loosened the remaining tension in Emma's shoulders, replacing it with a renewed sense of purpose and alignment with the client whose values she admired. Marcus smoothly shared his screen to display the correct figures he had quickly calculated, the numbers appearing with a reassuring clarity that restored the presentation's credibility. His calm efficiency complemented Emma's authentic communication, their different approaches working in harmony to transform what could have been a setback into a demonstration of their team's adaptability and integrity. The potential crisis had become an opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to excellence even when facing unexpected challenges. The meeting continued with a renewed energy, the earlier tension dissolving like morning mist as they engaged in productive discussion about implementation timelines. Emma found herself fully present again, her earlier anxiety transformed into focused attention as she responded thoughtfully to each of Dr. Patel's questions. The sunlight had shifted during their conversation, now casting a golden glow across the table that seemed to reflect the positive direction the meeting had taken despite its momentary uncertainty. Dr. Patel leaned forward slightly, her silver bangle bracelets catching the light as she shared her vision for community workshops that would extend Riverstone's reach beyond their physical center. "We want people to carry these practices into their daily lives," she explained, her words resonating deeply with Emma, who recognized in them her own belief in work that created meaningful impact. The alignment between their values created a sense of shared purpose that transcended the typical client-consultant relationship. As they discussed outreach strategies, Emma felt her creative energy flowing freely again, ideas emerging naturally in response to Dr. Patel's insights. She noticed how her body had released its defensive posture. Her breathing deepened, and her gestures became more expressive as she sketched possible social media approaches on her notepad. The earlier mistake now seemed less like a failure and more like a temporary redirection that had ultimately strengthened their collaboration. Marcus contributed thoughtful analysis of which demographic groups might respond best to different messaging approaches, his methodical thinking complementing Emma's intuitive suggestions. Their conversation developed a pleasant rhythm of proposal and consideration, building upon each other's ideas rather than competing for attention. Emma felt a quiet satisfaction in how they had moved through difficulty into this productive flow, a reminder that challenges often contained opportunities for deeper connection. Dr. Patel shared stories of patients whose lives had been transformed through Riverstone's programs, her voice taking on a reverent quality that filled the room with purpose. These narratives reminded Emma why this project mattered beyond business metrics. Real people would find healing through their work. The weight of the earlier era diminished further as she reconnected with the meaningful impact their marketing strategy could have in guiding people toward wellness practices. The afternoon light mellowed to a soft amber as their meeting extended beyond its scheduled time, none of them noting the passing hours as they explored possibilities with shared enthusiasm. Emma felt a pleasant tiredness, not the draining exhaustion of stress, but the satisfying fatigue that comes from meaningful engagement. Her earlier worry about the budget figures now seemed distant, replaced by excitement about the campaign they were crafting together. Eventually, they reached a natural conclusion, having outlined next steps with clear ownership and timelines. As they gathered their materials, Dr. Patel offered a final reflection. Today reminded me of what we teach at Riverstone, that obstacles often reveal our path rather than blocking it. The poetic wisdom of her observation resonated with Emma, who recognized how the presentation's challenge had ultimately created a deeper connection with their client through authentic problem solving. Walking back to her apartment in the late afternoon, Emma noticed details she might have missed had she been carrying the burden of an unsuccessful meeting. The particular quality of golden light filtering through the trees, the cheerful greeting of a neighbor walking his corgi, the scent of jasmine from a garden she passed daily but rarely appreciated fully. Her senses seemed heightened by the release of the day's earlier tension, allowing her to experience her surroundings with renewed appreciation. The physical act of walking helped integrate the day's experiences, each step on the concrete sidewalk grounding her in the present moment rather than dwelling on what might have gone wrong or worrying about future presentations. She noticed how her breathing had found a natural rhythm that matched her pace, her body finding its own wisdom without conscious direction. The gentle movement seemed to process the day's stress, transforming it into a calm alertness. Arriving home, Emma was greeted by Milo's expectant meow and the familiar comfort of her space, now bathed in the soft glow of late afternoon light that made the white walls appear almost peachy in their warmth. She slipped off her shoes, feeling the texture of the wooden floor beneath her feet, a simple sensation that helped transition her from work mode to the quieter energy of her personal sanctuary. Each familiar object seemed to welcome her back, unchanged yet somehow renewed through her shifted perspective. The simple ritual of making tea became a mindful practice as Emma selected a chamomile blend, appreciating the delicate dried flowers before placing them in her infuser. The kettle's gentle whistle and the rising steam created a multi-sensory experience that anchored her in the moment. As she waited for the tea to steep, releasing its honey-like aroma into her kitchen, she reflected on how differently this day had unfolded from her expectations, yet had arrived at a satisfying resolution nonetheless. Emma's phone chimed with a message from Marcus. "Great recovery today. Your honesty with Dr. P converted a potential problem into a trust-building moment. Proud of our team." The simple acknowledgement brought a smile to her face and a warmth to her chest as she recognized the truth in his observation. They had indeed transformed a mistake into an opportunity to demonstrate their values, perhaps making a stronger impression than a flawless presentation would have. Carrying her tea to the small balcony overlooking the quiet street, Emma settled into her wicker chair that creaked pleasantly beneath her weight. The evening air carried the scent of someone's garden herbs and the distant sound of children playing in the park down the block. These sensory experiences created a gentle background to her thoughts as she reviewed the day with self-compassion rather than the harsh self-criticism she might once have indulged in after making a mistake. As twilight softened the landscape, Emma noticed how the streetlights created pools of gentle illumination rather than harsh boundaries between light and shadow. This natural transition from day to evening mirrored her own emotional journey from the morning's anticipation through the afternoon's challenge to this moment of peaceful reflection. Nature offered these daily reminders of how light and darkness could coexist and transform into each other without conflict. A text from Dr. Patel arrived unexpectedly. "Emma, thank you for your authenticity today. I've approved the proposal and look forward to implementing your strategy. Your handling of the discrepancy actually reinforced why Riverstone wants to work with your team." Reading these words, Emma felt a wave of gratitude wash through her body, releasing the last traces of tension she hadn't even realized she was still carrying. The client had not only forgiven the error, but found value in how it was addressed, a lesson in the power of bringing mindful presence to difficulties. Conclusion. As evening fully embraced the neighborhood, Emma lit a single beeswax candle on her balcony table, its warm glow creating an intimate circle of light that seemed to hold her in a gentle embrace. The flame danced slightly with each subtle breeze, a hypnotic movement that invited her attention to rest in the present rather than reviewing the past or anticipating the future. This simple ritual marked her transition into evening, a boundary between the workday and time for restoration. The weight of the day's events settled into a peaceful acceptance as Emma acknowledged that perfection was never the goal. Authentic engagement and integrity mattered more than flawless execution. This perspective felt like a gift emerging from what could have been merely a stressful experience, a meaningful lesson wrapped in the challenge she had faced. Her breathing deepened naturally as this understanding moved from intellectual recognition to embodied wisdom. Stars appeared one by one in the darkening sky, their distant light a reminder of perspective, how small even significant problems became when viewed against the vastness of the universe. Emma found herself naming constellations she remembered from childhood camping trips, recalling how her father had taught her to locate the North Star as a fixed point of reference, regardless of where they traveled. Life's challenges, like today's presentation hurdle, could similarly serve as reference points for growth rather than as definitions of success or failure. The gentle chorus of evening insects created a soothing soundtrack as Emma sipped the last of her now cooled tea, its subtle sweetness lingering pleasantly on her tongue. She noticed how her body had soft, shoulders relaxed, and jaw unclenched, physical evidence of her mental shift from the tension of problem-solving to the release of acceptance. This embodied awareness was a practice she had developed gradually, learning to read her physical state as a barometer of her emotional well-being. Milo jumped lightly onto her lap, his warm weight and rhythmic purring adding another layer of comfort to the evening. Emma stroked his soft fur mindfully, appreciating the simple pleasure of connection with another living being who asked nothing more than presence and gentle touch. These uncomplicated moments of caring for her companion often restored her sense of purpose when complexities threatened to overwhelm her perspective on what truly mattered. The neighborhood settled into evening routines, windows glowing in nearby apartments revealing glimpses of others' lives, someone watering plants, another setting a table for dinner, lives unfolding in parallel to her own, each with unseen challenges and quiet triumphs. This sense of shared humanity brought comfort, a reminder that everyone navigated difficulties and sought moments of peace within their days. Emma felt a wave of compassion for her neighbors and for herself, all doing their best within life's uncertainties. A cool breeze brushed across Emma's skin, carrying the subtle fragrance of night-blooming jasmine from somewhere nearby. Its sweetness intensified in darkness rather than diminished. This natural phenomenon seemed to mirror how certain qualities, authenticity, integrity, self-compassion, could become more pronounced and valuable when navigating challenging situations rather than easy successes. The parallel brought a smile to her lips as she appreciated nature's constant offerings of wisdom to those attentive enough to notice. Tomorrow would bring its own tasks and potential complications, but Emma felt prepared to meet them with a renewed perspective today had offered. Rather than bracing against future difficulties, she found herself open to their lessons, curious about what each situation might reveal if approached with presence rather than resistance. This shift from anticipatory anxiety to receptive awareness lightened her thoughts as evening deepened around her balcony sanctuary. Emma's phone remained silent now, work communications completed for the day, creating space for the quieter voice of her own reflections to emerge. She had learned that constant connectivity often drowned out the subtle insights that arose in moments of stillness, and so she intentionally created these pockets of digital silence, especially after days that had demanded heightened attention and problem-solving. The absence of notifications allowed her attention to expand beyond immediate concerns. Deciding to honor her body's signals of hunger, Emma moved inside to prepare a simple dinner, bringing mindful attention to each step of the process. The sharp crispness of fresh vegetables against her knife, the aromatic release of garlic being crushed, the sizzling sound of ingredients meeting heated oil, each sensory experience anchored her in embodied presence. Cooking had become a form of moving meditation that helped integrate the day's experiences through physical engagement rather than continued mental processing. The satisfaction of creating a nourishing meal from simple ingredients paralleled the day's lesson of crafting positive outcomes from challenging circumstances. As Emma arranged her dinner on a favorite ceramic plate, taking a moment to appreciate the colors and textures before eating, she recognized that both cooking and problem-solving required similar qualities: presence, adaptability, trust in the process despite uncertain outcomes. The metaphor brought a sense of cohesion to her understanding of how she had navigated today's difficulty. With dinner complete and evening fully established, Emma prepared for sleep with the same intentional awareness she had brought to earlier activities. The cool sensation of water against her face, the minty freshness of toothpaste, the soft texture of well-worn pajamas against her skin, each element of her bedtime routine invited her senses to participate in the transition toward rest. These simple acts of self-care reinforced her worth beyond productivity or perfect performance. Settling into bed with a book of poetry, Emma allowed the carefully crafted words to wash over her, neither analyzing their meaning nor seeking lessons, simply receiving their beauty as a gift requiring no response. The poem's exploration of human experience, its challenges, connections, and moments of transcendence resonated with her own day's journey from tension to resolution, reminding her that such cycles were universally human rather than personal shortcomings. Sleep approached gradually, her consciousness drifting between the words on the page and memories of the day, neither holding her attention completely as her body prepared for rest. Emma noticed this natural transition without resistance, allowing her book to close gently on her chest as her breathing deepened and slowed. The day's events continued to integrate themselves even as her conscious direction of thoughts diminished, wisdom emerging through the process of letting go rather than continued effort. In the space between wakefulness and sleep, Emma felt a profound gratitude for the day's challenges that had ultimately deepened her connection with colleagues and clients while reinforcing her commitment to authenticity. This appreciation extended beyond specific outcomes to embrace the entire process of navigating difficulty, recognizing how it had strengthened rather than diminished her. The warmth of this gratitude spread through her body like a gentle current, relaxing any remaining tension. Dreams began to form at the edges of consciousness, weaving elements of the day into new patterns that would offer their own wisdom upon waking. Emma surrendered to this natural process of mental integration, trusting her sleeping mind to continue the work of finding meaning and connection without conscious direction. Her breathing found the deep, steady rhythm of approaching sleep, each exhale releasing a little more of the day's effort into the soft darkness of her bedroom. The last sensations Emma registered before sleep claimed her completely were the comforting weight of blankets, the distant sound of gentle rain beginning to fall outside her window, and a profound sense of contentment that transcended the day's specific events. These simple pleasures, safety, natural beauty, inner peace remained available regardless of external circumstances, a truth her body understood even as her conscious mind released its hold on wakefulness. Morning would arrive with its own invitations and challenges, but for now, Emma rested in the completion of a day that had included difficulty yet concluded in harmony. Her sleeping face reflected this resolution, features softened in the faint glow of moonlight filtering through her curtains, body fully surrendered to the restoration that night offered. The gentle rise and fall of her breathing continued its steady rhythm, carrying her deeper into dreams that would prepare her in ways beyond conscious understanding for whatever tomorrow might bring.